Hi, and welcome to Ignite 2021, our on-demand industry panels. My name is Katie Martucci. I work in the Career Services Office in the Center for Student Professional Development at Del Val. This particular panel is focused on small animal careers. And we have a really unique panel today because everybody who's present with us is from the Bucks County SPCA. And each one has a different role and responsibility that we'll get to learn more about. So please know that as part of this series, you can view this panel on our SharePoint site. If you need help accessing it, contact our office, cspd@delval.edu. And the same goes if you'd like to get in touch with any of these professionals who are here today. They've offered to speak with you further about their role and what they do, and we can help you get in touch with them. So thank you again. We'll just dive into introductions here. I have on my screen from left to right, Nikki, Natalie, Rachel, and Eleasha. So we can kind of just go in that order. Thanks, everybody.
Hi, my name is Nikki Thompson. I'm a Chief Humane Officer with Bucks County SPCA.
I'm Natalie DiGiacomo, and I am the Director of Community Outreach with the Bucks County SPCA.
I'm Rachel Balabuszko. I'm the Veterinary Clinic Manager also at the Bucks County SPCA.
And I'm Eleasha Gall. I'm the Director of Animal Behavior at the Bucks County SPCA.
So for this panel, I'll just let all our students who are watching know that the folks here are going to be sharing a couple of slides about the SPCA to educate us more about what happens there, and then we'll dive into our Ignite questions.
Sorry. So this will put into context why we are all so keen on saying that we are with the Bucks County SPCA, because it's kind of important to know who we are and who we aren't, because there's a lot of confusion surrounding the work that we do. I guess I just want to say hi on behalf of all of us. I'm going to take what I could spend 2-3 hours on and condense it into a few minutes to just let you all know who the Bucks County SPCA is. We are a private nonprofit organization, and we're independent of other SPCAs, other humane societies, other rescues. There's a lot of confusion around that. So we're not the same as the Montgomery County SPCA or the Pennsylvania SPCA or the Humane Society of the United States, or the ASPCA. We all certainly have overlap in our missions, but we're unique entities. We are responsible for our own mission, our own funding. So we don't rely on any trickle-down funding or tax dollars. We really rely on the generosity of the Bucks County community. And then we take that investment and pour it into services for Bucks County pets and pet owners. We have 2 locations, 2 brick and mortar locations. Our older facility is in Lahaska, and then we have a newer facility in Quakertown. And then we have a lot of programs. I think this is a good, the 4 of us who are on this panel represent a lot of the programs that we do that reach far outside the walls of our facilities. I could spend a lot of time on explaining what we do. I'm going to try to break it down the way we break our mission down into these 3 buckets of work: rescue, rehoming, and reaching out. Of course, we are a shelter. We have a shelter. We're here for lost Bucks County pets or Bucks County's pets whose owners can no longer care for them and bring them to us for adoption. So we are here to shelter. We try to reunite lost pets with owners. And for those pets who don't have an owner or whose owners want us to help them out, we try to rehome through adoption. We also do humane law enforcement for Bucks County animals. While our shelters are really open to pets, our humane officers, and Nikki can talk about this later, I'm sure, are really here for all Bucks County animals. So like if you see a goat or a cow, and I'm sure there are some exceptions, but they typically come in through our humane law enforcement program. And then we have these other services, again, that are not necessarily related to the shelter. And again, we all reflect this. We have our clinic that does low-cost spay neuter for community cats in Bucks County. Eleasha has a behavior helpline that is free for Bucks County pet owners. The outreach department works with volunteers, fosters to support all of our programs. And then we also offer some surrender prevention pet assistance programs. So quite a bit of different opportunities. Which is really one of the great things about working here. We have a lot to offer to folks who are just getting started in their careers or looking at what's next. We do offer competitive wages. We have very robust benefits and a commitment to constantly look at that to see, like, what's next, what's important. We have growth opportunities because we really believe it's important to grow people from the ground up. And I think all of us have probably done everything in either this shelter or in some shelter in this country. And there are a lot of different things to do because we have 7 unique departments. 4 are represented today. And of course, we have an unbeatable mission. On top of that, as if that weren't enough, I think we have a welcoming culture for colleagues, volunteers, and the community. And, hopefully you'll get a sense of what awesome colleagues there would be to work with too. I'm every day impressed by the folks I get to work with. The best way to know what opportunities are available is to get on our website. It's buckscountyspca.org/jobs. These are what are available now. Depending on when you're looking, it may be a whole different list. We have some animal care and customer tech opportunities in Quakertown. An animal behavior assistant spends time at both locations. Our clinic is looking for technicians and assistants. There are full and part-time opportunities. We have a staff veterinarian opening, and my department is looking for an outreach coordinator out of Lahaska. And again, this could be different whenever you are looking, but there are a lot of different opportunities and a lot of just a lot of great ways to serve. And that's it.
I was muted there. Thank you for that wonderful introduction to the services and programs that you offer. So I'd love to just dive into questions now. We can kind of go in the same order, but feel free to pass or jump to the next colleague if you need to. So if you could each briefly just share how you got into the career that you're in now. I'm sure for some of you, it wasn't a straight line, and our students would really benefit from hearing about that journey a little bit.
So I started out believing I was going to go to school to be a police officer. Got through somewhat of school and decided not a big fan. So ended up working in a bank, got married, had some kids. But I had been raised in a family that had an animal control officer at the lead. So I had grown up knowing how that worked. When it was time for me to, my youngest child was getting older, and it was time for me to enter the workforce again. I had become a part-time animal control officer and found out the SPCA was hiring, and I started out here as a kennel tech and doing customer service, which morphed into doing education programs, doing a lot of Girl Scout tours and things of that nature, which added on a bazillion other things. And as a natural progression from being an animal control officer, I became a humane officer along with all the other duties I was doing. At this point now, I strictly focus on the humane law enforcement side of things.
Okay, so let's see. Yes, I was going to be either a marine biologist or a field biologist. I was all about science. And then my aunt convinced me to volunteer at an animal shelter the summer before college. And they hired me that day because animal shelters across the country are always looking for new folks to bring on. And my life was never the same. My eyes were opened to a whole different need. I dabbled in science. I got my biology degree, but I knew that I really wanted to stay in this field. And then like Nikki, while I was going through school, I was always working at an animal shelter. So I did everything and worked in every different department, whether it was animal care, customer care, the clinic. I went on to get my graduate degree. I got a master's in animals and public policy and studied shelters. And then ever since have been working either in a shelter or on behalf of shelters until I'm here. I've been at Bucks County SPCA for about 6 years.
Hi, I also had kind of a circuitous route to get here. So I had worked in private practice, veterinary practices as a veterinary assistant, and then got some technician training. And then I ended up deciding to go to tech school. So I'm from the Midwest. So I went to Parkland College in Illinois and got my associates. And from there, right in the town where Parkland is, the ASPCA has a National Animal Poison Control Center hotline. And I had other students were working there, and I thought that sounds really different and interesting. So I worked at the Poison Control Center for a couple of years, but I missed, it was all on the phone, so I missed hands-on, with animals. But I ended up doing a bachelor's while I was there. And then me and my husband both decided to do graduate work and ended up out in California. So I was working on degrees completely unrelated to the animal field there. And then we ended up moving to Ohio and then eventually to Pennsylvania. And when we moved here, our son demanded a cat. And so I decided, well, we have to go to a shelter to adopt a cat. And so we drove up to the Bucks County SPCA in New Hope, and I think they were hiring for part-time, and I thought this place is really nice. Like, the people were really nice. The woman who adopted the cat to me is now the director of that location, so it's pretty amazing. And so I filled out an application and got hired just for part-time on the weekends, doing just basic animal care and customer, helping customers adopt animals. And then I left to finish a different degree. And when I finished that, the shelter had changed a little bit, and we now had a full-time veterinarian who was looking for a clinic manager. And I had really missed working at the shelter. And so I got to come back again. And now I've been back for about 3.5 years. So that's how I got involved with shelter work.
I also did not follow a straight path. I started in shelters when I was a kid. When I was 11, actually, my mom bullied her way into having them let me volunteer on my own as an 11-year-old child, which is not going to happen in today's day and age. But I went away from that. I did a number of different career choices, always just coming back to rescue work. And I didn't know that you could make money doing this, quite honestly. I thought that I had to have a real job. And then in my mid-20s, just more people, started using me as their trainer, and I was a private trainer. I ended up with a doggy daycare training center. We had a bus that would come pick the animals up in the morning. We had a masseuse that would come in once a week for the dogs. And about 10 years ago, I thought, if I can do good in nonprofit world, I should go back to that. And my first thing there was through a pet finder grant, and I've been working in shelters ever since. And actually, I volunteered here about 13 years ago and adopted a dog from here 12.5 years ago, who I still have. And then I found my way back to Bucks County SPCA about 1.5 years ago.
Thank you, everyone, for sharing a little bit about your story. I wonder if next you can talk about some typical challenges that you experience in your profession, help students open their eyes a little bit to what it's really like to be in your shoes.
Make sure I unmute myself. One of the biggest things, and I think all of my colleagues will agree, is seeing some of the bad things that we have to see. I think that is one of the biggest challenges that we face, and learning how to deal with that on a professional level as well as a personal level. Now, fortunately, the majority of bad things we see, we're able to fix and create a great outcome for those animals. But there are times when you can't fix everything. And I think that is the biggest challenge that I face. You know, I'm sure you guys have other challenges as well, but not being able to fix it all.
Gosh, I feel like just managing expectations is a challenge. It's probably not unique to our field, but in being in outreach, I have the opportunity to speak with the public. Like I'm usually working with people more than animals. Animals are the inspiration, they're the reason. But I'm really working with people, and it gives me the opportunity to sort of hear what people think we do, think we should do, and you know what they want versus what the reality is. And so just managing those expectations, because I really do believe not just our organization, but all animal organizations are truly a reflection of the community in terms of what the needs are and what our ability is to meet those needs. And so I really feel like one of the best things I can do in my position is help kind of bridge the gap of understanding, let people know, you know, how they can help, what help we need, why it's important, and kind of work out some of the, you know, the mystery around shelters to remove the barriers to help, whether it's a barrier for us to help the public or a barrier for the public to help us. So fortunately it's a worthwhile challenge. So I think like what Nikki's saying, it's a challenge, but it's doable. we just have to, you know, be committed to it.
For me, one of the things that I wish someone would have told us, you should have a degree in psychology, because I think everyone else on the team will probably agree. We're all animal people, but you have to deal so much with the public, and we're often dealing with people who are going through very difficult, challenging times on many levels, sometimes, you know, emotionally, financially, and we're trying to help them find solutions to these very difficult problems, because no one wants to give away their animal, you know, and so you're trying to find ways to help them possibly keep the animal, but offer support in different ways. For me specifically, you know, dealing with the spay-neuter clinic for cats, there's just such a huge demand on, you know, that so many people have community cats, so meaning maybe a feral cat colony that they're trying to take care of. And it's just the numbers of cats is getting away from them. So we are a very small team. So we're just trying our hardest to keep up with cat reproduction, which is not easy. So I think for me, the biggest challenge is remembering to be empathetic with people, that trying to remember they're trying to do the best that they can. And we're there to try to help them do that, because all of our goals are to help take care of these animals. So I wish we could all clone ourselves, and so we could get as you know, as much work done as we would like to do, that there's just not enough hours in the day to get everything done.
Kind of along those same lines, you know, we do a lot of people, when I speak to them and they're thinking about getting into this world, they will say, I just love animals. I don't really like people. The problem is these animals come to us attached with people. And the more that we can help the human half of the equation, the more that we can help the animal half. And it took me a long time to figure that one out for sure. You know, and if this is something that people think they might want to do, remembering to take care of yourself. I see so many people enter this field and they're passionate, and their heart and their soul and their paycheck and their money and their whole life is thrown into it, but then they burn out rather quickly. And they're not there to help long term. So they burn brightly, but for a short amount of time. And remembering to take care of yourself. We do deal with a lot of people. You know, I was on the phone with someone the other day and they just kept hitting me with what was happening in their life. And one of the things they told me about would have set someone back, and they just kept coming. It's really hard to hear, but I think if you can, and what most of us are really good at is how can we help move forward, and really keep that in mind, not judge people for where they are right now, but okay, we're here. This is where we're at. How can we help you move forward, but also saving yourself?
Yeah, I love that you all mentioned some of those human skills that are needed, human skills to take care of yourself, to be able to continue some of this really challenging hard work because you care so much. But then human skills to help other people, because I see that so often with our students who are in our animal related majors. And the first thing that they'll tell you when you look at a resume or ask them what they want to do is, well, I love animals. And so I think it's really great to emphasize that it, like you said, animals are attached to people, usually when they come to you or the community. So I appreciate that message that was shared. So I think we'll jump into another question. Hopefully we can get through maybe 2 more here. I wonder if you could share an obstacle that you faced professionally, how you overcame it. A lot of times students feel like, you know, they make a mistake or they experience a failure and it's just, you know, it can be blown out of proportion. It can feel devastating. So if you could talk about something that you've experienced and how you kind of came on the other side of it, that would be great.
So of course, in my line of this work, we have a lot of court cases. We have animals that we remove from people's homes, and then we care for them here at the shelter until a court case can be heard. And then a judge usually decides what goes on, if the animal goes back to the owner or if the animal gets to stay with us and be rehomed. I think one of the biggest hurdles that I had, and something I had to learn to live with, was taking an animal away from somebody because it wasn't being fed properly. And we went through the whole court process. And while the court case went well, the judge decided to return the animal to the owner. That was a huge learning curve for me because that was the first time I had ever seen that in my career. And I think I was about 3 or 4 years in. And it threw me for a loop because we had been caring for this dog for months, because none of these cases go very quickly where they come in and immediately are adjudicated and then the animals are released to us. But having this dog here for months and then having it to return it to that situation was just beyond my scope of understanding at that time. Turned out the woman ended up returning the dog to the breeder she had gotten it from. So thankfully, I had to look at it as this is a win of another color. And I think that was a turning point for me to realize that you can't always judge things, that you can't win in court just because you got a guilty conviction or because you got what you expected to get. You have to look at it with a different attitude and say, okay, this is how I'm going to judge this win today. Even if it's a loss or you get a not guilty or an acquittal of some sort, then that way you can carry on. I think that's one of the biggest things, is being able to pick yourself up after a challenge and carry on, but find a way to look at what good you've done, or what you've learned from that situation.
So I'll do my best to explain this. This is kind of a long-term challenge that I started in this field in 1991. And when I kind of feel like my history and tenure in the field is kind of divided between my beginning and, like the last maybe 15 years. And I've always struggled with allowing my emotions to, get the best of me. And I think it was in grad school where I was finally able to see that people were judging me on my emotions and I wasn't being as effective in my career. And I kind of reflecting back on what we've been talking about, I was really focused on the animals and the love and all of that stuff. And certainly that's important. That's what got me here, but it wasn't getting me any further. And I needed to hold on to that, but also take it to the next level. And a real turning point for me was starting to look at my field, not from my own perspective, but from the perspective of like who I needed to work with to make progress. So that would be pet owners and people in the community. And it's something I still have to remind myself of, because, I think by nature, human nature, we often come at things from our own perspective. But I think in my career, when I'm at my best and when I am succeeding the best, it's when I'm looking from other perspectives. And I think it kind of dovetails on some of the other things that we've been talking about. Remembering that and surrounding myself with people who will remind me of that, who I trust and who will say like, hey, Natalie, let's take a step back and think about, how, we've got this problem with maybe it's a surrender prevention client and you seem like you're getting frustrated, or how can we take a step back and look at what do they need and how can we help them? Like Eleasha said, move forward. So not getting stuck in my own perspective, I guess. Okay, sorry.
Eleasha, do you want to jump in while Rachel? Maybe you can jump in first and then we'll go back to Rachel.
There we go. Okay. So yeah, as I don't know if it's just age or experience or growth, but I always find a lot of challenges. When I first started, I definitely, I was a private trainer. So I worked for myself, for people, and everyone looked to me to have all of the answers. And from going to that to a collaborative group where everything is not going to go the way that you want it to, and that's okay too. Those have been my challenges when I look at something and think, well, this is how I would do it. And maybe it's the animal's owner, maybe it's, something else. But, when I've had those challenges, I really have to realize that I can't control everything. I can only control my reaction to things. And being able to do that is something that I can do. I can control myself. I can control my reactions. I can control how I respond to people. And working with a group that you trust is so much better than calling all the shots yourself and doing everything exactly how you would want it. And really being able to talk to somebody and know that it's, judgment free. because yeah, I've definitely had those challenges where I'm looking at people thinking like, oh my gosh, you're not getting it. And if you would just do this thing, everything would be great, but they can't. I can't control what they're hearing. So I have to figure out ways to help. So yeah, those, my biggest challenges have probably honestly been myself, and figuring out how to play nice in the sandbox, and just how valuable having a good group. And this place, I know that I'm extremely lucky to have all of these amazing, talented people that I implicitly trust.
All right, I got myself unmuted. I think for me, the biggest challenge has been just realizing you're not always going to reach your goal in this nice straight line. Sometimes there's going to be setbacks. So for example, I've talked about trying to get cats, community cats especially, spayed and neutered, or my team works a lot with Nikki's team, where sometimes we think we've finished a project helping someone that has too many cats, and then all of a sudden 2 years later she gets a call, guess what, so and so has 25 cats again. And we think, hey, we've been here and done this before, but you just have to, you know, pick yourself up and start over and try to reach that goal again. And try to keep in mind that, you know, you're probably still a lot better off that it's only 25 cats this time because you took care of all those other cats in the past. So just trying to keep positive and remind yourself that, you know, you're doing good work, even though you may not always achieve get the result, the exact result that you want. You're still making a big difference and you're still doing good things. So the positive outcome may look a lot different than what you expected, but you can still view it as a win.
Thank you again, everyone. I think we have time for like a rapid fire question here. So if you could just go around, and I'm putting you on the spot here, but think about your word of wisdom for a student who's interested in your line of work and how they should get started or could get started.
If you're interested in humane law enforcement, I would say learn all the other aspects first, because that's what's gotten me through to be able to know the things that I need to know.
Oh gosh, I don't know. The only word that comes to mind is like persevere. Like this isn't a field that is meant to be easy. It's important life-saving work. It's life-changing work. And so try it, you know, be prepared to work hard and keep going while taking care of yourself. For me, I think if you do want to work in the field of veterinary medicine, you know, obtaining a vet tech degree is a great idea. You know, working part-time as you're going through school is a great idea, whether it's in a practice or in a shelter, because getting that hands-on experience is going to be the most helpful thing to you. And you're going to get to see things in practice that you can bring into the shelter, because you're going to be using all those same skills. You're going to have to recognize, you know, animal behavior. You're going to have to recognize in order to stay safe while you're handling animals. You're going to have to be able to recognize when an animal is sick. So get the hands-on practice as much as you can, as well as doing your schoolwork.
Definitely, the hands-on is second to none for this kind of a field. So volunteer, help out. If behavior is your thing, take your dog to training classes. If someone's applying for a job with me and they've never taken their own dog to a training class, that's going to be a tough sell. If you don't have a dog, just go sit in on a class. take your friend's dog that annoys you to a training class. Find a way to get some hands-on practical work and experience, because some people find out this is not for them. And I've worked at shelters. There's nothing that any one of us wouldn't jump in and do to help out someone else here. I scooped poop for about an hour the other day, and it needed to be done. So you do it. So there's nothing that any of us wouldn't do in any department to help out. We all answer phones. We all pick up poop.
Wonderful. Thank you for your words of wisdom. I really appreciate, again, everyone's time today. This was great. As students, remember, all these folks are able and willing to connect with you after the fact. So please be in touch with our office if you'd like to get in contact. Did anyone want to say anything else? Natalie, I saw you took yourself off mute, so I wanted to.
I was just going to say thank you and good luck to everyone. Hopefully we'll get to meet some of you.
Yes. All right. Thank you so much.